Kyle here from allmereviews.blogspot.com. Phone call interrupted me. I'm not sure if I'm going to combine this or just latch this on a separate short video on the end. I mean, combine the two and latch it on, or just do a new video. Anyway, I was just talking about the Genesis, this set from May 14, 1980, which has Selling England by the Pound. Well, that's not actually a song. It's, I don't know. I think that might be Dancing with the Moonlit Light. Carpet Crawlers, Squonk, Cul-de-sac, Duchess, the long version of Duchess, guide vocal, In the Cage, Afterglow, Follow You, Follow Me, I Know What I Like in Your Wardrobe, and Return of the Giant Hogweed. So a lot of the Peter stuff that's just classic. I mean, not my ultimate favorites. You don't have Stagnation or even the Cinema Show on the set list, but it's got a good mix, you know, and it's the Phil stuff. But this bootleg on vinyl, and then I actually also found at the same place in Cleveland. It's called Revelatory Genesis, and two different shows. Lyceum Ballroom, May 7th, 1980, so that was only 3 days after. And I'm going to make sure which is. And then Nebworth Festival, June 24th, 1978. I guess the Duke stuff, and that was before they recorded it. Because the set list on this is excellent as well. A lot of Duke stuff. Because I happen to really enjoy that Duke album. It has, you know, the whole suite. And Bernie wrote Fountain of Some Matches is one of my favorites, and The Knife. And it's interesting to hear Phil do it, you know. Deep in the Motherhood, One for the Vine, The Lady Lies, Follow You, Follow Me, you know. So, cool bootlegs. Alright, so the only other vinyl Genesis I have, like I said in the other video, the previous part, I'll try to do at least one or two videos on the solo work. Gabriel. I don't have any Phil Collins, so I may not even talk that much about him. But Steve Hackett, certainly. Maybe a few words about Mike Rutherford. Technically, I could also include stuff that's related to Brand X with Phil, which maybe that's what I'll do. I don't know. I think at least one of the Brand X related records deserves its own video, but we'll see. But yeah, I have Abacab, and I bought this really because it was only $1. It's got a couple songs I know. Who Done It, actually, I think some people hate. I mean, Downfall mentioned he just thinks it sucks. I actually kind of like that song. Man in the Corner, No Reply at All. Those are decent songs, nothing special. And the title track, it's a lot of heavy synths. Whereas with Duke, they sort of added some synths, but it didn't like detract from the sort of style and the mood. I don't know exactly. I don't know, for some reason the production on Duke is much more pleasing than the production on this. It just sounds so 80s-ish, but you know, it's a transitional record too, that people have said. So I don't despise this record, but among all the records I own from Genesis, I definitely would put it at the very bottom, probably even below. I may even put it from Genesis to Revelation. I don't know, but you can see. But like I said, I didn't pay a fortune for it. I'm not sure if I'll ever end up collecting the others. I might, but I'll just kind of go through that quickly. Of course, they released the self-titled album, or otherwise known as I came to learn, Shapes and Mama, or Mama and Shapes. And I probably like more of that album than Abacab, actually. Let me just pull it up real quickly here, if I can do that. It has That's All, which was kind of the hit single. I always think of that sounds like a country western song almost, but it kind of works in a poppy way. Even a band my fiance really enjoys, at least their early stuff, Keane covered it. I associate Keane as much with that album as I associate Genesis, which is weird. And the band, I think of that song for Keane, because I'm not really that into Keane's original music. Mama, Home by the Sea. Mama is cool. It's almost like a Gabriel type song. And you know, the vocal effects, it'd be cool to hear Gabriel and Phil do a duet to that song at some point, if they've never had. I don't think they ever have. They did the one show in the early 80s where Gabriel reunited, but I don't think they did. It's on YouTube. A lot of it's on YouTube. Illegal Alien, yeah, it's not a bad track, but Taking It All Too Hard sounds like a Phil Collins solo track, you know, to me. But that's the other issue that Genesis ran into the 80s, especially when Phil Collins was churning out all these hit singles and these albums he was released. If Genesis had a popular single, you wondered if it was a Phil song or a Genesis. That was the problem they ran into. And I think I mentioned in the first video, I wasn't that into Genesis really until the early 2000s. I knew about their music in the 80s, but I didn't know them. I just remember once at camp, though, two people I was in a cabin with had a stupid debate. It was silly. Who was better, Genesis or U2? Which, at the time I probably didn't care, although I probably still would have leaned toward Genesis. But, okay, so then and that was 83, the self-titled. Then they released Invisible Touch in 86, which has a lot of their biggest, pop hits. The title track, Tonight, 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 which is like 7 minutes. Land of Confusion, which I'd probably say Land of Confusion is probably my favorite song. Domino, which is more of a, multi-part epic, of sort of smaller epic. The Brazilian, which is very percussive, of course, ends the album. In Too Deep, another pop song. It's almost a push. I get, and I probably don't appreciate the 80s Genesis as much as I could. I think Abacab kind of just didn't, the songwriting wasn't as strong, it wasn't as melodic, saying strong, but Invisible Touch and the self-titled album are decent records. They're decent pop records. They're not, to me, it's almost like a different band. They could have just changed their name, they just didn't. If they were a different name band, I'd probably appreciate them like I appreciate Tears for Fears almost. Man, maybe not quite as much, but yeah, that's not a bad comparison. Tears for Fears or XTC or I don't know, Simple Minds, Aha, Toto, those kind of bands where I like some of their songs, but I never got fully into them. So then they put out We Can't Dance. When I was in high school in 91, I remember the local classic rock station playing that song, I Can't, whatever. Was it the title track, I think? It was just a silly track. It's like, oh, we're Caucasian males and we don't know how to dance. And it's just, we're an instrumental, we're a band who's known for playing instruments. We can't, I don't know. Our demographic is white males. It is I Can't Dance. I don't have much more to say about this record other than it's kind of forgettable. But I haven't really spent a lot of time listening to that much of it. I probably can only say I've only heard about half of it, or a little bit more. So then in 97, Phil left the band, of course. He was doing the, whatever it was, Disney soundtracks. And they were looking for a new singer to do another album and a tour. Of course, Kevin Gilbert, my favorite musician of all time. Him and his band Giraffe at the 1994 second edition, I think it was, or maybe the first edition of Prog Fest in Los Angeles, played most of the Lamb Lies Down Broadway, and it's on YouTube. It was released as an official live album. I think it's on YouTube. The audio is probably on YouTube. Anyway, definitely recommend it to any Gabriel Prog fans, anyone fan of the Lamb Lies Down Broadway. Kevin Gilbert, there's a reason why he's my favorite musician. And he could play the Lamb Lies Down Broadway all by himself, all 100 minutes, every song, every part, pretty much, constantly. He would do that. He'd go to a punk show. Anyway, he was going to audition, but unfortunately he passed away like a few days before he was going to supposedly fly to England. Because I guess Mike Rutherford and Tony Banks saw the video or heard about the video or audio or about his performance at Prog Fest. But if he would have been the lead singer, even though I don't know how long it would have lasted, calling all stations, or if he would have even produced them or played on it, even just been involved somehow with Ray Wilson, calling all stations probably would have ended up a lot better. That being said, I did buy a copy of it when it came out. I remember the song. I remember the song Congo or whatever it was called. I don't know when Rate Your Music started putting audio on their pages, on their ads. The song Congo or Take Me to the Congo, I think it is, on the radio. But, it sounded a little bit like the Hogarth Marillion, kind of stripped down almost, without as much of a progressive side to it. And Nick DiVirgilio does play drums on it too, actually, which is interesting. Of course, he played with Kevin Gilbert too, and then Spock's Beard and some other bands. So, yeah, it's just the album that what could have been. I don't really hate the album in that sense. I don't really care that much for the album, even though I believe, like I said, I have a copy, probably my jukebox CD player, but yeah, it was just kind of what could have been, and everything with Kevin's what could have been with him, but I always look at that. So anyway, more artists review coming up, and I can just conclusions. I need to finish up the likes of Rush, Queen, and Yes. I think those are the three, and then I got some others that I'm definitely going to be looking to make. One of them being King Crimson for sure, even though I don't have their whole collection. Another one being Renaissance, for sure. I know people don't know Renaissance, that many people know them, but they were a tremendous band. I compared their catalog and consistency to Led Zeppelin. And then, especially their 70s stuff. The 80s stuff, I have some of it, and a lot of it I haven't even spent time listening to. And there was like one or two others. But anyway, and I want to make a shout-out video because of all these little reviewers that have been doing the great videos. But Christian McGuire's one, of course, Downfall, Mr. Superior, and he tells me I need to yell at him. He needs to start doing, and now it's time for another episode. And now it's time for another episode of... But... yeah, with all the wedding stress I've been dealing with, his videos have definitely helped, along with, Ministry Music and a lot of other, The Album Man, people that have found me on YouTube have been commenting, Ancient Marinera, or Ancient Mariner, whatever he wants to be called. So, and I'm looking forward to Joey Russ's videos also. So, see you next time. Thanks for watching. Please comment, subscribe, or give it a like.